the statue of the god would be inside the bark. You see the priest carrying the bark. Of course, this is a cartoon. Here it is. How much more y'all want me to show? They brainwashed.
I didn't look verbatim, but
it's the same thing, man. If there's nothing new under the sun, you got to ask yourself what was before Christianity, what was before Islam. I mean, these religions just came about. A lot of, I mean, them dates. Even though I was dealing with them dates, Egypt is much older than the dates that we get, because they had to. If it was too ancient, then it would be self-evident. They had to break Egypt's chronology down so it was synchronized with Mesopotamia. You understand what I'm saying? So they try to have Egypt and Mesopotamia basically right side by side, which is not true. You understand?
Yeah. What do you think about the Chrysler, the sun disk, and the
it's a winged sun,
and the ram?
It's the same thing. The ram is the sacred symbol of Amun-Ra. So when you look at the Hebrews, they had what you call the shofar. That's that ram's horn that they blow. Now, they say Moses was in Egypt. Well, the Hebrews was in Egypt for almost 410 years. So that's just like us being in America. You ain't going to spend that much time in a land like that and not know all of the sacred symbols, the writings. They had to know. So if I show you this, the Egyptian, and then show you the Hebrew, it's not a coincidence, because you're seeing it. You ain't going to be in Egypt for 400 and some odd years, and it says Moses was learned in all the wisdom. All. All. Which means he ain't leave out nothing. So it's not a coincidence.
What female is the Sphinx representative of? Because we were all taught that the Sphinx was male. And
what the Sphinx?
One of the kings. You know, when we see all the pictures you've been showing us, they look male.
Well, you got Hatshepsut. She got statues as in a what you call a horn Aken. Sphinx is actually Greek. The African is horn Aken. Horus on the horizon, Heru on the horizon. The only one you're gonna see like that is Hatshepsut. They are male, because the pharaoh position is a male position. The woman had her thing. She was the queen. And she was the symbol. She was the throne. So her power was there. But the male, the pharaohship, that was the male's position. The queen, she was the throne. Her power was there. It wasn't because you don't see her that she didn't have power, because he wouldn't sit on the throne unless she crowned to sit on the throne. So I mean, it's a lot of controversy about that, about Hatshepsut, because Seti left her name off of the Abydos Kings list. Took her off. Because she should not have taken that position. She should have ruled as a queen. Anytime you got to put on a beard, she had to put on a breastplate. That's just like my son come home with high heel shoes. Nigga, I don't even explain it. There's no explanation for it. So she crossed the line.
But she wasn't the only female pharaoh.
They ruled as queens.
She was the most prominent, but she wasn't the only female pharaoh.
They ruled as queens. They ruled as queens.
Oh, she was the only one that ruled as queen.
She took that position as a king. That's why she had the false beard on and everything. You know, so he left her name. He said he left her name on. She's not. Akhenaten, his name not on there. You know what I'm saying? Tutankhamun, his name's not on there. Anybody that had anything to do with Akhenaten, left him off. Because he wanted to represent, because under Akhenaten, Egypt had failed. I mean, before Akhenaten, Egypt was an empire. We had colonies all through Asia. By the time Akhenaten rulership was over, I mean, they was at the door, knocking in. They about to come into Egypt.
He made war against the law.
Who that?
Akhenaten.
Akhenaten, man.
That's one of the
Hey, he went against the craft. He closed down the craft of Amun-Ra. And I don't know, we don't know what happened to Akhenaten, but he came up missing. At some period of time, he came up missing.
Like died young.
He died young.
So when we're into the study of Egyptology and learning about our history and true heritage, would we refer to ourselves as Osirians? as opposed to Christians or Catholics and Jews and this and that? I mean, because basically it's Horus, Osiris.
I mean, if that's what it
Osiris,
is,
is that the same?
hey, Rue, Osiris is father. Osiris is Greek. Horus is Greek.
So what we're studying, under that study, what?
Under what? What's the question?
What we're studying is Egyptology. I mean, what would we?
I don't even call it Egyptology. It's just African culture. It's just African culture.
African culture, okay.
Because a Jew, it's funny, we say we study Egyptology. A Jew that studies the Torah, he's not studying Jewology. He's just a Jew.
Right.
Studying Jewish culture. We always got to put an ology on the end or something.
Yeah.
It make it sound fake.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I just stick with African because, you know, a lot of people, when we coming up with all these different names, you know, right now Africa is the term that all African people around the world can relate to. You know, and if Egypt is a part of Africa, Nubia is a part of Africa. See, when we get to Assyrians,
Right,
then the nigga over here, Herurian, you know, and then the division gonna come in, you know, and then, you know, I don't, African is good for me.
Referred to as Nubians.
A Nubian good, I ain't got no problem with Nubian, but that's Greek terminology too. Ta-Nahisi is the official name of the land, Ta-Nahisi. All the names of the countries on the Nile start with Ta. Ta means land. Ta-Nahisi, Ta-Meri, Ta-Seti, Ta-Pimwet, Ta-Puanik. Ta is always at the beginning of the, you know, the title, the official title. So Kemet, a lot of people use Kemet, but Kemet is what the agriculturalist people called it, the farmers. But the brothers of the craft called it Ta-Meri. You don't see Kemet on the papyruses, in the scrolls. You don't see Kemet. You see Ta-Meri.
When you come to the language right quick, you know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of people, Jews and Hebrew, they talk about, you know, the books being given to them by Moses. But, you know, I somebody asked the question, what language? Because if you look at your own language, Semitic language, so what language, you know, what they speaking?
Who, the Hebrew?
Yeah, when they said all these things existed, you know, what was the language they speak? Because you don't see any language of Hebrew, you know, before the 10th century.
Right. You know what? We know that it's a fictional story, but we have to, because our story here in America is so similar to that story. We speak in English. There's no way you're going to spend that much time if you was a slave. And I'm saying that the story is fictitious. But even if they were slaves, that if they spent that much time in Kemet, they had to have been speaking the language of Egypt, bottom line. So when Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, the writings on the wall is what he saw. That's the only language he would have been able to write. So when you look at all the ancient scrolls, the so-called Jews, they own papyrus. The most ancient, even the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's on the scroll. It's on papyrus. Come out of Egypt. Papyrus come out of Egypt. That's where paper come from. So, I mean, they writing utensils, the language is all coming up. If you look at Hebrew today, and you look at Arabic, and then look at Hieratic, the cursive form of the metal now. Just look at it. Look it up on the internet. Look up Hieratic. See, what we see most of the time is the hieroglyph, the picture version of the language. We don't see the cursive form, what you want to call the cursive, the hieratic form of the language. That's where the Hebrew took his language. That's where the Muslim took his language. Because the Muslim don't even have a book before the Quran. Ask them to show you they claim to be so ancient, but tell them to show you a manuscript before the Quran written in Arabic. Can't do it. Because it ain't. They ain't got nothing. It started with the Quran. So you really, basically, you see the Muslims' enlightenment come when they come into Kemet. Then all of a sudden, they scholars. All of the Greeks, they come into Egypt. They scholars. The Christians, they come into Egypt. They scholars. But before they come in, what was they doing? Any more questions?
Yeah. What exactly does the Rosetta Stone have on it? You know, they promote Rosetta Stone right now for commercial purposes to learn languages. Which scripts are on that?
what Dr. Ben said, it's some Masonic, it's some brothers, you know, it's some craft symbolisms on there that, you know, that they took up off. You got the top, which is Demotic hieroglyphs. Then you got the priestly script up under that. And at the bottom, you got Greek. And that was supposedly the slab where they translated the hieroglyphs. We know they ain't translated no hieroglyphs. Champollion was a fag in France on the Riviera, sitting in a chateau, ain't even seen Egypt. Ain't even seen Egypt. And they form, so I mean, let me be real with you. Most of what we talking today that they talking about the metal netta is fake. It's never been really, and not really, it's never been deciphered. Because first and foremost, you had to be a brother of the craft to even know it. You had to be a brother of the craft to know it. And so when the crackers was coming in, the Africans took their most sacred scrolls and they went back up the river. What the cracker got is what they left. Play them off, leave that, leave that. And they get that and then he read it and think he got some secrets. He ain't got no secrets. When you go to Edfu and you look up on the walls of Edfu when the Greeks came in, look it up. Their cartouches is blank. The priest didn't even put no names in them. You see, you know what a cartouche is? Where they put the holy name? They left them blank so that we would know they did not recognize. So what do they got? It never been deciphered. The only way you can know that language is to go back to the Nile. And if the brothers accept you in, and then you can't go over there and fill out no application. You can't even ask who a brother, because you don't know.
No.
That's why Dr. Ben was so important to us, because he took the brothers over there and he was a grand master. You know, this the Sarah. See the young prince inside of the sun? Take a good look. Oh, Jesus wants to be the Sarah. He wants to be the Sarah now. He's replaced our African ancestor. Now he wants to be the Sarah. See, the spirit always represented as black. That's the essence from which we come from. Black inside of the sun. Here it is. Now Jesus wants to be the Sarah. Language. I'm just being real. Only the priest. So what I'm saying is you go home. I ain't saying you can't learn it. I ain't saying it's impossible for you to learn. You just got to go home. And what kills me, you got fake so-called Egyptologists or today, blacks, and they claiming they reading it. How you know better than them brothers that been over there in them temples all their life? Huh? If you take some of that information, Matua asked me. I'm gonna just throw it on out there. Huh? Take that book over there to them brothers in them temples and let them open it up. They'll drop it on the ground. What is it? A lot of people are Ra'u Nefer. I ain't scared. I was raised up. And I'm gonna stand on my square. Take that book back to the Nile and let one of them priests open it up. They're gonna throw it on the ground. What is it? How can you know the language? You wasn't initiated. So it took 40 years to become a priest. How you know it? So we don't know it. You understand? I mean, I don't know it, and be honest. I know certain symbols that I was taught to identify, but that's all I know. And if I come to something that I know, I'm gonna take. I don't know. And I might try to, you know, suggest somewhere, and if the brothers don't want to give it to you, and more likely they ain't gonna give it to you, because they done took an oath. You got to be raised up just like every brother that ever was raised up. Ain't no double promotion. Ain't no nigga gonna give you nothing. Ain't no double, you gonna have to go through the system just like everybody else. Which ties you to the land. That's what I love about Dr. Ben, because he ties you to the land. You got to go back, just like the Muslims. You got to go back to Mecca. They tie you to the land. So it's a continuous, you understand what I'm saying, resurgence of the religion. You got to go back. You got to go back. You got to pay homage at the Kaaba. So you got to go back home, family. You got to go back home. Any more questions? Hotel family, see you next week. I enjoyed you coming out. Hotel. Now, let me keep firing. You got Ramesu, right?